Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're going to trace a single, really powerful question across 4 different books of the Bible: 2 Chronicles, Proverbs, Luke, and Acts. And believe me, it's a journey that starts with a magnificent temple and ends up somewhere you might not expect at all. So let's dive in.
So it all starts with this incredible question from King Solomon. He's standing in front of this brand new, magnificent temple, and he asks something that honestly echoes through all of our readings today. Where does God really live, and how can we, tiny as we are, possibly connect with a God so immense? Let's hold on to that question as we go.
All right, so our journey begins in 2 Chronicles chapter 6. King Solomon has just put the finishing touches on the great temple in Jerusalem. And this wasn't just another building. It was meant to be a permanent, dedicated home for God's very presence among his people.
At this exact moment, Solomon is dedicating the temple. It's the fulfillment of a promise God had made to his father, David. The whole community of Israel is there, and you can just imagine the weight and the glory of the occasion. I mean, this temple, made of stone and gold, was the absolute center of worship, a specific physical address for God's presence on earth. But as we just heard, even Solomon knew that a building, no matter how grand, couldn't really contain God.
Okay, now let's hit the fast-forward button and jump several centuries ahead to the book of Luke, chapter 2. And the setting, well, it couldn't be more different. We go from a glorious temple in the heart of a great city to a humble, quiet stable in the little town of Bethlehem.
And the contrast here is just staggering. Seriously, think about it. God's presence moves from a majestic temple of stone and gold, fixed in one spot, to a simple manger made of wood and straw. This is God's profound, beautiful, and totally unexpected answer to Solomon's question. His dwelling place isn't a building anymore. It's a person, Jesus Christ, who is mobile, accessible, and available to everyone.
You know, this shift, it changes everything. Because if God's presence is now a person, it means his guidance is personal too. Proverbs 29 tells us that real stability and joy come from divine guidance. Well, Jesus is the perfect embodiment of that. He is that just king who brings stability not with earthly power, but by literally being the wisdom of God in human form.
So, God came to live with us in the person of Jesus, but the story doesn't stop in Bethlehem, not by a long shot. Let's jump over to the book of Acts and see how this incredible news, this completely new way of understanding God's presence, starts to spread from Jerusalem out to the rest of the world.
So here we are, right back to our central question. Solomon wondered how an infinite God could possibly live on earth. The birth of Jesus in that manger was the first part of the answer. And now, on a hill in Athens, of all places, the Apostle Paul is about to give the rest of the answer to a bunch of Greek philosophers.
You have to picture this. Paul is standing in Athens, a city famous for its man-made temples, and he just comes right out and says that the one true God who created everything doesn't live in them. What an incredible moment. This is a direct, powerful answer to the very same question Solomon asked all those centuries ago in front of his own temple.
And Paul keeps going. He explains that God created all of us with a purpose so that we would seek him and find him. And here's the crucial part. He's not far away. He is so incredibly close. As Paul says, in him we live and move and exist. The presence of God, which was once centered in a temple, is now being offered personally to everyone, everywhere.
Okay, so when you pull all 4 of these chapters together, you start to see this beautiful, intentional story unfolding. God has a plan, and it's always been about getting closer to his people, about finding a way to live right here with us.
You can really see the whole story arc right here. God's presence was never meant to be contained. It was always meant to expand. First, it was centered in a specific place, the temple. Then it became embodied in a specific person, Jesus. And now through his Spirit, that very same presence lives inside his people. We have become the temple not made by human hands.
Realizing this incredible story changes everything. I mean, this isn't just ancient history. It has huge implications for how we can live our lives today, right now, with a real sense of purpose and hope.
So how does this ancient story actually change our Tuesday? Well, it leaves us with 3 really powerful invitations. First, we can seek God everywhere, knowing he isn't stuck in a building, he's near. Second, we can study the Bible with open minds, kind of like the Bereans in Acts who just eagerly examine the scriptures every day. And third, we can place our security not in things we can see, but in trusting God himself.
And you know, that last point about trust, it brings us right back to this powerful promise from Proverbs.
In a world that is just full of things that can make us afraid, the Bible points us to the real source of our security. It says that trusting in the Lord, that's where we find true safety and peace.
So as we finish up, let's just sit with this final thought. If God's home is now with His people, what does that really mean for you and for me? How will you, in what you do and what you say today, be a welcoming place for His presence in the world? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.